Hi, welcome back. Today's video is going to be about the boy in white. There's so many interesting avenues we can go and explore about this character in the show, from his odd apparel, to what part he plays in this town. Another question to ask is he a character with noble intent, or is there something nefarious behind his motivation? He is truly a conundrum, because he seems to be interwoven with the town, but, yet, his actions deviate from the obvious brutality of the creatures that plague the town residents. The boy in white is hard to pin down to exactly what side he's on, and this is justified because nothing in the town seems to be solidified with something that could be considered certainty. Yes, there is some common grounds with the real world, but what really does that mean in the world of From? With that being said, let's explore the boy in white. First, is he even human? Well, the likelihood of him being a normal human being is low, judging from how he lives out in the woods with extremely dangerous creatures stalking the night. Another thing is his unending youth. He remains a boy even though years have passed. Victor knew him as a boy for a very long time. Victor, played by Scott McCord, is 51 years old, and young Victor saw the boy in white around age 12, so that would make the boy close to 40 years old, and that's just a guess. Who knows how old he really is? Next, it looks like his role in this town is that of some sort of guide. The definition of a guide, according to the Collin Dictionary: a guide points out the way, directs on a course, conducts, or leads. In this regard, the boy really does take an active role in guiding some individuals in this town. The boy seems to be some sort of guide. This is seen in episode 7, where the boy in white helps out Victor and Julie Matthews escape the invasion of the colony house by the creatures, by telling him to escape into a faraway tree. The boy continues his guidance in episode 10, where he helped out Sarah and Boyd by telling them how to escape to safety in a faraway tree. But what part does he play in the town's dynamics? I think it's important to point out that there seems to be other factions in opposition to each other in this town. The boy's motivation clearly doesn't seem to line up with the creature's modus operandi.
Megan, what are you doing?
Maybe I can come in.
And his actions puts him at odds with other forces at play. Because when he tells Sarah the town is upset, he still helps her and Boyd to hide in a faraway tree. His actions could be in contrast to what the town desires. The question now is, why didn't he help out the town more often, especially when the people were struggling without the talismans? Well, things may not be so black and white when it comes to the boy's actions. I'll explain. He may be beholden to a different standard of rules and communication that we may be accustomed to. For example, let's say there's an individual that you want to talk to, but there is a problem. The person you want to engage in a conversation with happens to be on the other side of the world, so clearly standard communication cannot work in this situation. So, in order to communicate with this person, we have to follow a different set of parameters in order for that conversation to ensue. What that means is we have to pick up a device, a cellular phone. But just picking up the cellular phone isn't good enough. The other individual on the other side of the world has to have the same device, and this device has to be able to pick up a signal that is compatible with our phone. So, the reason that the boy may not have helped out before is because many people in the town weren't able to communicate with the boy, because they couldn't receive the signal or weren't in tune to the frequency that the boy seems to be communicating on. This is seen clearly when the boy communicates through some sort of mental telepathy that only Sarah is able to hear. On top of that, Sarah and Ethan Matthews had some sort of seizure which appeared to give them a strange connection with the town. This was emphasized by Father Kadri when he told Boyd of Sarah's importance because of her strange connection with the place. It could be that the signal tries to push its way through to the mind's consciousness of those who are disposed to receive the information. My first thought is the boy is a guide of sorts to help those who can see or hear him out, but there's something that concerns me about him, and it was this scene. There's a concerning element about him smiling and being happy amongst this devastating carnage, the boy that never ages. It reminds me of the story of Peter Pan, not the animated version but the original J.M. Barrie's story, the darker version. You see, Pan is a free spirit, being too young to be burdened with the effects of education or to have an adult appreciation of moral responsibility. He knows the language of fairies and birds. Peter is part animal and part human. On the surface it may sound good that Peter was a never-aging jovial boy, that had no worries, but the morbid truth is Peter had no time for morality, which led him to do some very dark things. Here's a line from the story. It says, "The boys on the island vary, of course, in numbers, as they would get killed and so on. And when they seem to be growing up, which is against the rules, Peter thins them out. But at this time there were 6 of them, counting the twins as 2. So in conclusion, I believe that the boy in white plays the role of a guide in this town. But to classify this role as being something that is good or bad, I would say is premature, since he appears not to be human. That opens the possibility of basically anything. Whether this is his true motivation is yet to be seen. But if the obvious is any indicator, the boy seems to be concerned with helping those in the town out. Guys, what's your impression of the boy in white? Do you think he's the town's savior, or is there something more to him that we're missing? To get a high-definition panoramic view, it calls for different perspectives from all sides, and your comments helps out with getting the clarity we need for a more conclusive theory. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time.